Greg Jennings off-season blueprint for the Minnesota Vikings. That's what we're talking about today on Bleav in Vikings. It's Thursday, January 22nd, and I'm your host, Mike Wabschall. Very excited for a special guest on the show today. It is former Vikings wide receiver Greg Jennings, who's going to join us and talk about the Vikings 2025 season, the offseason, some things that he thinks they could do, and maybe we'll touch on some NFL-wide topics as well. Before we bring Greg in, though, as always, want to remind you to subscribe to Bleav in Vikings. And you can find us wherever you find all your other favorite podcasts. You go there, you search Bleav, B-L-E-A-V, Bleav in Vikings. You hit subscribe, and then we are in business. Let's bring in our guy right now, Greg Jennings, to talk a little Minnesota Vikings and NFL. Hey, Greg, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, Mike. How about yourself?
I'm doing great as well. This is a touch of nostalgia for me, at least. You went to a few different teams and you interacted with a lot of staff members, a lot of Packers.com people and Dolphins.com. But we had a few moments together when you were with the Minnesota Vikings back in the day, and so it's kind of fun to do this again with you, sir. So thanks for being here.
Of course.
Yeah. What is keeping you occupied aside from your busy family life, which as we discussed off air, we can talk about that for hours. But in terms of the football world, what is keeping you occupied, man? Where can people find some of your work and keep up with you?
Well, they can definitely find my work on FS1. First Things First, on with Nick Wright, Kevin Wiles, and Chris Broussard. I'm every other week, and Coach Mangini as well. Cool. Love the show. 3 to 6 Eastern. That's 2 to 5 Central. It's a good time. It's a good time where we dive in the ball. Obviously, opinionated show. You know how they go. Try to get as much involved into X's and O's as possible, but we try to keep it as light, but then dive sometimes as deep as we need to. So that's every other week for me.
Yeah, man, that's a fun crew too. It's a good, fast-paced show, and you're right, man. In the business you're in, there is the sensational, headline-driven, yell at each other stuff, but I do appreciate individuals like yourself, and there are others too, who like to actually talk ball and, with respect to the players and coaches who are still in it, and there's a segment of the fan base, and frankly, a lot of that is listening to shows like Bleav in Vikings, who really like to get into the weeds and talk ball and stay away from that superficial stuff. Yeah, so I do respect that about your game as an analyst.
For sure. Yeah. Trust me, as a player and former player, it's a fine line. And I want to always be critical from a performance-based perspective, nothing beyond that. And sometimes, the questions that are framed try to corner you to, take that bait. Yeah. And it's, it's not about that. It's about just speaking to what we see as former players, our experiences, and then moving on from there.
Yeah. Well, I'd like you, I know you're heavily tuned into what's going on right now. Conference championship weekend is coming up. Super Bowl is on the horizon, and I promise we'll get to that and get you to share some thoughts there. But I semi-joked, tongue-in-cheek, former Vikings wide receiver, and that's no disrespect to the Green Bay Packers, where you spent
for sure.
Yeah, where you spent a lot of time, and you're a Hall of Famer there with the Green Bay Packers. But you did spend 2 seasons with the Vikings. I know that probably gives you a better perspective on them because they're not just an adversary. They're a team where you forge relationships and respect and all of that. So as you reflect back on 2025 and the Minnesota Vikings and maybe some things you talked about on the show or just some other thoughts you had, what did you think about the season, how they finished, and the development of J.J. McCarthy, the play of the wide receivers? What were some of your thoughts looking back on 2025?
Well, I'll start this way. Obviously every team sets out to have a playoff berth and play a deep playoff run. This was a Minnesota Vikings team that spent a lot of money in the offseason, believing that even with what we have or what we are uncertain of at the quarterback position, we have enough to where we can be competitive. And it was unfortunate that things didn't work out, but you see the bone structure of what Kwesi was trying to get done and Kevin O'Connell was trying to get done. Now, there's work truly to be done, but that's the overarching synopsis for me. What is clearly glaring is you got to develop and see where JJ is. Look, I watched him his entire time at the University of Michigan. I'm a Michigander, so I love the University of Michigan. Rooted for him. The one thing, watching him even in college, that obviously everyone was blowing the whistle on when he was drafted, and the times that we weren't able to see him because of injury, we had never seen, can he throw the ball? How is he when he's asked to truly shoulder the offense from a passing game perspective? And we got to see a little bit of that this year, and he obviously has to grow in those areas with obviously protections, timing, decision making, some accuracy issues, the whole gambit. But we've seen young players go into situations that were worse and have success, and it's like, man, that's what it should look like. That's what we hope as fans, and even as former players and just guys who just watch the game. We have an expectation, and I knew it would be challenging for him based off what we saw with Sam Darnold the previous year, and then coming in and having the injury and all the guys around him. It's like the expectation is you're coming into a vehicle that is primed and ready to go. All we need is a driver that can keep us on the road. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And so that's the glaring elephant in the room, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
But there are other, obviously, issues as well. And from my assessment, offensive line, probably want to address the center position with some of the head injuries that were suffered by, I'm drawing a blank.
Ryan Kelly.
Ryan. Yep. And again, good player. Just when you think about dependability, durability, all those things, is he going to be there? The running backs position, Aaron Jones, a lot of production from the running back group, but same thing, durability, all those things. Often we can go on and on and on. I don't know how deep you want to. I'll say this, even from a coaching perspective, if Flores is out, like what that looks like defensively, I think you still have some really good pieces. But as we've watched the playoffs unfold, the one thing that stands out to me is the ability of these teams that are going deep to get pressure with 4 instead of having to blitz like crazy and leaving gaps and voids that quarterbacks can take advantage of. Obviously, Flores is an artist when it comes to the blitz and being able to pressure. But if you can get home with 4, changes the game. And this is just this is the front 4 that wasn't able to truly do that consistently.
Yeah, Greg, I think you make a good point about when you can get home with 4. And I'm sure everyone listening or watching has examples of teams they've watched who have done that. I think about the 2009 Vikings, where Leslie Frazier was the defensive coordinator. Yeah, and
trust me, I went up against those guys.
I know you did.
We had to speed everything up.
Yeah. I mean, you had Jared Allen screaming off the edge. Ray Edwards was in his prime. Kevin and Pat Williams, and very rarely did Leslie elect to bring pressure and blitz. Every once in a while, you'd get Antoine Winfield maybe off the edge, but they got home with 4, dropped 7 in coverage, rush 4. You couldn't run on them. And that was, obviously Favre, Adrian, Percy, Sidney Rice, all those guys, Bryant McKinney, who's my partner here on the show. Yeah, great offense, no doubt. But, I mean, that defense, man. So, yeah, when you can get home with 4, big deal. I think what happens with the Vikings defense this offseason, we won't have any clues on that till we know who the coordinator is, and I hope for Flo that he gets another opportunity. He certainly earns it and deserves it. That's not always what it's about, unfortunately, in this league. I hope he gets his chance. To me, though, when you look at Minnesota, it's about the development of the quarterback. That's what everyone's going to be looking at this offseason. And I'm just wondering, from your experience, I mean, I don't want to compare JJ to Aaron Rodgers because I want JJ to be his own player. But I want to learn more about your perspective on a young quarterback growing up. What are the landmarks? What are the signs or signals that you look for as a teammate of that quarterback to be like, I think he's getting it. I think we can believe in him versus, oh man, I think we got to get off this guy and find someone else.
So fortunately for myself, I was never truly in that type of situation in Green Bay.
Okay.
Where it was like, man, I see a guy, we got to get off this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron wasn't, everybody knows he wasn't asked to jump in and start right away. There was a plan. And that's the one thing I will say that the Packers have always done. They've always had a plan, and that quarterback's going to sit. In JJ's case, I just felt, and I've always felt this way because it's what I've seen and what I've seen work. Very few quarterbacks come in ready.
Mm-hmm.
Very few. It is challenging to be able to, one, just pick up the offense, two, learn what you're going to see from a defensive scheme standpoint and how to dissect those, and then combined, make the right decisions, know what play to get us in, get us out of. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes before you ever throw the ball.
Yeah.
And when you don't see that done consistently, and fortunately for JJ, he did have an opportunity to see it with Sam. The one thing that I would say that I believe really hurt him is he wasn't able to be there. He wasn't able to be on the field, mimicking those things, running those plays for the scout team where you're running the opposing opponent's plays, but they are your plays as well.
Yeah.
And so you can mimic what you've just seen. The blitzes are going to be called, you know what I mean? The way that they would be for Sam in that offense. So he didn't have that as a real on the field application.
Yep.
He had to get it from just seeing it, watching it, and not being involved. And that's a completely different way to learn.
That's interesting. And you know, everyone can want to repeat that plan that Green Bay has laid out, but you can't always do that if you don't.
Can't always do it.
Right. If you don't have the guy there that the young guy can sit behind, right? And so you're totally right. When you are throwing the guy into the fire, everything around him, everything's got to change. You made a good point earlier, Greg. It did seem like the table was set for the young man, right? Mm-hmm. With the talent around him. But there was some injuries up front, and there were some other extenuating circumstances that just didn't pan out. And I think the biggest thing for JJ maybe is just the missed time because of the injuries, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's disruptive, don't you think?
Look, 100%. Look, the one thing we can do, we can always learn, we can always watch film. We can't mimic being on the field, feeling the pressure, seeing it, and having to navigate it physically. You can't mimic that. You can, if you've never truly done it, you can only mentally have those reps go so far. And with JJ, even this year, the injuries, the missed time, it's like, in order for development to take place, you're going to have to be available for the development to take place. The one thing I will say watching him though, and I saw a lot of this at Michigan as well, he has a fire about him that makes you really want to be vested and want to believe in him and not give up on him. However, when you have the skills set around you, like JJ, the other JJ, Jets, and then Addison and Hawk and Aaron Jones and all these weapons around you, it puts added pressure on a young quarterback more than what people I think understand.
True.
You know what I mean? Because the expectation is all you got to do is just get them the ball. Just get the ball to Jets. Just put it in the area, get it around. And it's easier said than done when that timing is not there consistently because, number one, availability isn't there always. So that's the one thing that I think he has to learn how to take care of his body and avoid those injuries. And again, this is something I'm preaching to the choir. It's avoid them as much as you can, and some you can't avoid.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting discussion topic with athletes is the whole injury prone thing. You know, for guys who get hurt a lot, I don't like calling them injury prone. At the same time, it's like some guys just get banged up, and I'm not ready to say that about JJ. But if it happens again, I don't know how you couldn't. You know what I mean? And I just get really sensitive about attacking a man or a woman athlete like that, you know, because I understand the work, the passion, the pride that goes into it, and you get banged up, and sometimes it just, I mean, the Bo Nix thing, man, and we're going to talk about these conference championship games. I mean, he's literally all he's doing is positioning his team for a field goal. That's it, you know. So it's tough, man. Switching gears a little bit, but staying on offense with the Vikings, I'd be curious to hear sort of Kevin O'Connell. What, you know, everyone's a disciple of someone except like Bill Walsh, right? Like Bill Walsh, I guess, like started this offense so everyone's a disciple of somebody. And I think people would tie Kevin maybe a little bit to Sean McVay. Of course, he also came into the league as a player with the Patriots. But when you watch the Vikings offense, what are some traits of it? Like what does Kevin O'Connell like to do on offense? Just on a high level, what would your report be on the Vikings offense with Kevin O'Connell?
Well, obviously, this is where I would say he shares that McVay ideology where he wants to run that ball. He wants to make runs look like passes at times. But more importantly, having the guy under center to execute the plan, because the plan is going to be a lot of play action, drop back, deep over routes. We're going to try to get the defense in a bind with matchups, put our best players on either their best player or second best player, and win our one-on-ones by running away. So we're going to always see those deep crossers, those overs, those are staples in his game or in his plan. The one thing that I love about Kevin O'Connell is he's not just a first 15 guy. And what I mean by that is he has a plan for the entire game. I say that, and I know people listening, well, every coach has a plan for the entire game. Even when you get punched in the mouth, it's like it doesn't feel like coaches adjust because sometimes they don't simply adjust. They want to run their plays because in their mind, these plays are good enough to be successful. Kevin's ability to adjust and make adjustments is based on what he has under center. Can I adjust with you first? If you're a quarterback that I can adjust with, which we saw with Sam, even with the pressure, being able to take the pressure, stand there and deliver those passes, I need to know that you're gonna trust me. I'm gonna trust you. Let's make these adjustments. Trust the process. Trust the plays that's coming in. They will work. I've seen him time and time again. The last thing I'll say about Kevin is that I think kind of gets glossed over. Not one time did I see this year, even though we know he was frustrated with JJ, there was a level of frustration we all had watching. He always wanted to speak positively and talk about the things, you know, he's doing some things. He's doing some of the things that we want him to do. We just got to get this done and we got to get that done. But overall, I like what I'm seeing. I like the body language. He would always highlight something. And I think when you have that as a coach, those are intangibles that you lead with when the execution isn't there. Because if the execution isn't there, sometimes, and I think we all saw, it was mental at times for JJ as well. And so once you check out mentally, what I'm saying in your ear in your helmet, it's almost gonna always be too much.
Yeah.
And guys in the huddle, they feed off that.
Yeah. I want to follow up on one thing about Kevin, and then we'll move on to the conference championship games and get some predictions from you on it. But I was just listening to you talk about that, Greg, about Kevin and the philosophy that you have with your quarterback and the trust and all that. You know, with Kirk Cousins and with Sam, maybe Kevin was in more of a like an X's and O's mad scientist mode where it's like, let's get all these concepts going and let's see how we can trick them. And they're going to think we're doing this and we're going to do that. And just little tiny adjustments, right? Just tweaking things because they're veterans and they can run it. It's maybe a different mode with JJ as a coach. I mean, a coach only has so much energy, right? We got the techniques, the fundamentals, the development, the practice, the game plan, the play calling, right? So it's like Kevin's got to decide where to direct all of his energy based on what type of quarterback he has. Is that making any sense to you there?
It makes perfect sense. Look, it's kind of what we saw a little bit, in Chicago at the beginning of the season with Ben Johnson. It's like, the pre-snap things. Like, we got to get that down. I'm just harping on that. Once I feel like you got a good grasp of that, then we'll add. Obviously, you want to throw everything at them, but when it's too much because mentally they're not there, and that's okay. Like, it was his first year. He's not there mentally.
Right.
There's some mental development that needs to take place. Meanwhile, I need to be able to feed you this and know that you can digest it and then grow your appetite for more. And I think that was what we weren't able to see happen. The appetite grow to something more.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And it's time on task that is going to lead to that. And I think there's a part of Kevin O'Connell that loves let's work on your footwork here and your elbows here and the shoulder and blah. But I think Kevin really lives for being with Matthew Stafford in a meeting room after week 14 and you're playing a team for the second time and you're going to do these things to trick them, right? And like being with Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, veterans who can operate at a high level. I think that's where he really wants to be, and he's got to build JJ up and get him there. And everyone listening and watching this hopes he can do that. So
I'll add one thing to those guys that you mentioned.
Yeah,
each of those guys could come into the meeting, and he knows that they're not just going to accept what I throw out there. Meaning, they're not going to be agreeable to everything.
Oh, sure.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right now, he's dealing with a young player that's agreeable to everything.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, even when he doesn't really fully understand it, we get you get this with kids all the time. And I'm not calling JJ a kid. He's a younger kid, young man. But like, and you really don't understand what's being asked of you. You just hope that you can kind of shuck and jive your way through. When you were in the meet, when he was in those meeting rooms with Matthew Stafford, Kirk, and obviously Sam, they had seen so much to where they were bringing things to the table as well. So now the meeting isn't just, Kevin, this is what I'm going to have you guys do. It's like, all right, what do you guys want to do? What are you seeing? Because I can trust that what you're telling me has been studied, has been evaluated, and you're going to give me truth and honesty. We don't know that with a young guy coming in. And so the meeting has to be kind of more of a hand holding. And are you being honest? Do you understand what I'm saying? If you don't, just say you don't. And no one ever wants to say, I don't get that.
Oh, no.
And I think JJ went through phases of that a little bit.
Interesting. I totally see that. It's almost like if you're a coach, you go into a meeting like that and you've got what you want, but you almost feel better about it if 4 of the 17 things you want, they won't do. And they have reasons for it. You're just like, dang, I'm glad we didn't go into the game with those 4 things.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally follow you on that, man. That's a great point. All right, let's get you out of here on conference championship weekend. Everyone knows the matchups. It's Broncos hosting the Patriots at FanDuel. The Patriots are a 5.5-point favorite on the road in the AFC Championship game. Over-unders 42.5. And then you have Rams at Seahawks. The Seahawks are a 2.5-point favorite. I will leave it to you, Greg. You talk about whichever game you want to talk about first. But Patriots at Broncos, obviously we know about Bo Nix and that situation. Rams at Seahawks, division matchup for the right to go to the Super Bowl. What stands out to you about these matchups, and who do you like?
Well, I'll start with the AFC. Obviously, the Bo Nix injury is just simply a bummer, especially with the way he was playing in that game. But when you have curated an offense around a guy all season long, regardless of the level of performance and productivity you were getting, you knew what you had. You knew what he was capable of. And now Jarrett Stidham gets to start. You're going to have to try to maintain the integrity of the offense, but yet definitely curate it to his palate, that will give you the best chance to get to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Obviously, their defense is sound. They got to be stingy. They have to simply be stingy, and they've been stingy pretty much all year, but they've found ways and found games where they've given up a lot of points. This is one of those moments they just can't be. And on the flip side, when you look at New England, they're playing lights out defensively to go up against that defense that they did with Houston.
Yeah.
Like, to watch Drake May just have this roller coaster of a ride, but still always have a calm and a steadiness about him, to where you don't feel like he ever loses confidence, and you don't ever lose confidence in a guy like that. So I think the Patriots come away with the win. They have their guy. They have their quarterback. They've been through it. They've had adversity, and they've been able to overcome it. And then in the NFC, we've seen this film a couple times already. Yeah. And one thing I know for certain, if you're the Rams in that defense, they've been giving up a lot of big plays. Since week 12, they've been giving up about 28 points a game. They can't do that. You have to pressure Sam Darnold. If there's one thing we all know, even as Vikings, if you can pressure Sam, you can disrupt what they do offensively. And that's just been kind of the sticker label that's been out on Sam. But if you don't, he can carve you up. And that defense on the other side, they're going to make it tough. Sam can make as many errors and mistakes, and they typically will erase a lot of them. And we saw it in the second matchup. It's going to be fantastic. I like Seattle. I like the Rams, but I'm going with Seattle. I just feel like that defense right now, the way that they're playing, that's what has won them a lot of these matchups in these games. And they're going to feed off that. It's one of the reasons why you play for the 1 seed. You get to play at home with your 12th man behind you. It'll be an exciting weekend of football.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited for that. All right, last thing here. You've been in games like this, Greg. These high leverage games. It's deafening. It's loud. As a player, is there any calm out there, or do you revel in the high strung nature of the stress? What's your mindset there?
That's a great question. Well, both.
Okay.
Really both. So as loud and as chaotic and as hostile of an environment that you can go into, when you are a guy that has prepared and you understand the moment, you don't hear and really feel any of that.
Oh, wow.
However, when you desire to feel and fuel yourself from it, you hear it all. Like,
it's available to you. Yeah,
it's available to me, right? Like, it's a weird deal where, like, it can be as quieting as possible when you come out and you execute. I remember really quick, when I was with the Packers and we played in a conference championship game in Chicago. So you could obviously it was pumping like it was the last couple weekends. And we came in with a couple different schematic adjustments that we knew were going to throw them off their game. Okay. We knew it. We knew it.
Yeah.
And it was the 5-step slant. No one had done it. It was either the 3-step slant or the 7-step glance, which is the bang 8, where Troy and Mike Orvin really, they permanently stapled that. And we went in between that. And as a defender, you're taught, you see 3 steps, you drive. Heel in the ground, you drive. T-plant, you drive on the ball. Once you get beyond that, you're playing for that 7-step.
Okay.
Or it's more play action. Mike McCarthy had drawn up a route to where we were in the middle of that, and we knew all week Charles Woodson, Tremont Williams, we're running it on them, and they are done.
Yeah.
They couldn't when we had Charles like in limbo.
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
And we knew, this is gold. He would turn around, man. Would you just run? Would you just run?
That is so.
No one had ever done it, and so Sean McVay has that the capacity to do that and that creativity to do that. I'm not saying Clint doesn't, because I'm sure he does. I spent time with Clint right there in that Viking building
in Minnesota.
And then on the other side, Josh McDaniel is going to have something for that defense. You just and the same can be said with Sean Payton. So the team that's able to develop a wrinkle that they can run a variety of ways, where we were able to run it on straight drop back and play action, threw the Bears off, went straight down the field, first possession, scored, and was running it periodically throughout the game. And there was nothing they could do about it.
That makes me want to go find that game and rewatch it, man, and look for those slants.
I'm telling you, when you watch it, I probably had 60 yards on the first possession, and it was all on that play.
Yeah.
Both sides, any corner could get it. It was the best.
I'm sick like you are. I'm sick enough to go back and watch that and look for it. So I might just go do that. All right. Once I get the kids to bed.
There you go.
All right, man. Well, hey, this is 30 minutes spent here with you talking football is truly a privilege, and we appreciate that. We appreciate your time. Wishing you continued success, and say hello to all your family, and we'll talk again down the road, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Take care, Mike. Appreciate you
for
having me.
You bet. That's going to do it for this episode of Bleav in Vikings. As always, we thank you for watching and for listening. On behalf of everyone at Bleav in Vikings and my guy, Greg Jennings, this is Wabi signing off for now. Until next time, everyone, always remember, keep believing.